Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Strix, and I'm here to talk to you about what Dead by Daylight Chapter 15 has in store. So, the playtest beta has just released, which means a new killer, survivor, and a new map. Also coming with Chapter 15 are a plethora of other changes, including some major buffs to the Doctor. But for the purpose of this video, we are only going to cover the new killer, survivor, and map, as well as their perks. So our new survivor is Zarina Kassir. I hope I pronounced that right. And let me just say, I love her design. And of course, she comes with 3 new perks. We have the perks Off the Record, Red Herring, and For the People. And for our new killer, we have the rootin' tootin' cowboy, the Deathslinger, and his trusty harpoon gun called the Redeemer. Now I have seen some mixed opinions of him, but I personally think that he is a good addition to an already diverse roster of killers, and his mechanic of hooking and reeling in survivors with his harpoon gun will be really interesting to face. Now, since I play on PS4, I haven't personally been able to face him, but from what I have seen, the harpoon itself is quite difficult to hit, but has some decent range to it. He comes with the perks Gearhead, Deadman Switch, and Hex Retribution. And of course, we have a new map called Dead Dog Saloon, which is very reminiscent of a stereotypical old western town, but with an ominous overlay that is in the nature of Dead by Daylight, as if something bad had obviously happened there. So without further ado, let's talk about the perks. We will talk about Zarina's perks first and foremost, and we will start with the perk Off the Record. This perk is described as, you've learned that a quiet approach is sometimes best. Once you are unhooked, or escape from the hook, Off the Record activates for 60 seconds. While Off the Record is active, your aura will not be shown to the killer and grunts of pain caused by injuries are reduced by 100%. Now, this perk to me just seems like a worse Calm Spirit. The Aura Block addition that comes with it also feels a little pointless unless in those 60 seconds another survivor is hooked activating barbecue and chili, and even that is very situational. In this case, I would take Calm Spirit hands down. Next we have the perk Red Herring, which is described as you've noticed that people pay attention to whatever makes the loudest noise. After repairing a generator for at least 3 seconds, it will be highlighted to you with a yellow aura. The generator stays highlighted until it is fully repaired, or you repair a new generator, or enter a locker. Entering a locker will trigger a loud sound indicator for the killer at the highlighted generator's location. Red Herring can only be triggered once every 100 seconds. This perk seems like a massive troll perk to me, but I do, however, see a glimmer of potential. First, we'll look at the highlighted generator. If you get lost easily and can't find your way back to that generator you just ran away from because the killer chased after you or something, then that could be helpful, but ultimately it will be used to set up your elaborate schemes. Theoretically, you could use this perk as a massive and overly convoluted diversion by touching a gen on one side of the map long enough to highlight it and then running to the other side, near another gen, then hopping into a locker, which would subsequently set off the loud noise indicator for the killer, which would divert the killer's attention to the opposite side of the map, buying you some precious time to work on that generator. Could cause for some fun times, but ultimately I think that it requires too much setup to get any real use out of it. The last new perk on her list is For the People, which is described as you risk life and injury for others. For the People is only active while at full health. Press the active ability button while healing another survivor without a medkit to instantly heal them from dying to injured, or from injured to healthy. You become injured and receive the broken status effect for 110 seconds. You also become the obsession. Equipping this perk decreases your overall chances of being the killer's obsession at the start of the trial. Now this perk to me is a really exciting one and the best of the 3 for the survivor. I think this can have some major usage, especially against a slugging killer, but I'm not sure if this will make it in any meta builds or anything, but I do believe that it has a lot of use. Overall, I love the new survivor perks. I think they will all be really fun to play around with, especially in a casual style of play. But ultimately, I do think the existing perks that are meta right now are all really hard to beat. So I personally don't think we will be seeing these in play very often, except maybe For the People. So now, let's talk about the killer. Before getting too far into this, let me just say that I mostly play Survivor, so I'm trying to look at these from the survivor's point of view, which would hinder me the most from finishing my objective. His power, without going into too much detail about it, allows you to shoot someone with your harpoon gun, the Redeemer, and reel them in and subsequently hit them into the dying state. If your aim is good, then this power can be quite powerful. Someone running in a straight line, shoot them and reel them in. Saves time. This power is really flashy, but I don't believe that it will live up to the power level of the likes of the Spirit, Nurse, or Hillbilly. As for the perks, we have Gearhead, which is described as you've got an ear for well-oiled gears. After hitting a survivor 2 times with your basic attack, Gearhead activates for 35 seconds. Each time a survivor completes a good or great skill check while repairing, the generator will be revealed by a yellow aura for as long as it's being repaired. This perk seems too hard to activate to get any real benefit from unless I'm misunderstanding it. I would sooner run Surveillance. You have to hit the survivor twice just for 35 seconds to see a gen someone is working on, if they even get a skill check. No thanks. To me, this perk is a really hard pass. The next perk we have is Deadman Switch, which is described as you become obsessed with one survivor. After hooking the obsession, Deadman Switch activates for the next 35 seconds. While activated, any survivor that stops repairing a generator before it is fully repaired causes the entity to block the generator until Deadman Switch's effect ends. Affected generators are highlighted by a white aura. The killer can only be obsessed with one survivor at a time. This perk could have some use. I think that this could work well when partnered with Ruin. The regression that could come from the blocking of the gen could help stall out the game a little more. The big drawback is how to actually activate it. You have to find and hook the obsession, so you won't get any massive use out of this perk. At most, you'll get to activate this perk like 3 times. And that's saying that you get your obsession. In my opinion, Thrilling Tremors is a better pick. Those two together might be fun to try though sometime. Now, the last perk for the Deathslinger is the one that I'm most excited for. It's called Hex Retribution. This perk is described as a hex that lashes out upon its destruction. Those who cross you will be punished. Any survivor who cleanses a dull totem will suffer from the Oblivious status effect for 35 seconds. If any hex totem is cleansed, including this one, the auras of all survivors are revealed for 10 seconds. This perk could open up for a really interesting hex build. Maybe run Ruin, Haunted Ground or Devour, and Retribution, and you could have a lot of synergy here. And that just welcomes a snowball effect. Think of this situation. A survivor cleansed your haunted grounds. Now all survivors are revealed and exposed to you. Goodbye, survivors. I know that if I see this perk when playing Survivor, I'm going to be terrified. Well, that's everything for now. I, for one, am super excited to get in and play this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then please make sure to like and subscribe. It is always appreciated. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.